Have you ever experienced that perplexing moment when everything seems perfect with a woman, only for her to suddenly become distant without any clear explanation? Before we dive into the profound psychological insights of this phenomenon, make sure to subscribe to the Alchemistry channel, right? So you don't miss out on transforming your understanding of relationships. Most men in a state of panic resort to pleading and unknowingly seal their own fate. However, intelligent men, true strategists, operate with a completely different approach. Today we will unveil a Machiavellian method to reclaim power, respect, and yes, her desire. This isn't cheap manipulation, but rather a profound understanding of cold psychology, and it undeniably works. Prepare yourself, because after this, you will never be the same. There exists a precise, subtle, almost imperceptible moment when a woman begins to lose interest. This isn't necessarily after an argument, nor when you've seen her with someone else, or even when her messages become less frequent. No, this critical moment occurs long before you even realize it. It surfaces when, even for a few seconds, she subtly tests you without your awareness. An unanswered message, a different glance, a casual remark like, "I need some time to think." Your immediate reaction in that very instant will determine your destiny. Most men make the gravest mistake. They react emotionally, doubt themselves, send contradictory texts, constantly ask if everything is all right, and desperately try to fix things on the spot. Unknowingly, they surrender their own throne, crawling before hers. But as Machiavelli wisely stated, one never conquers someone's heart from a position of weakness. Here lies the first Machiavellian principle that strategic men silently apply. When she pulls away, it's not the time to talk, but to observe. Do you know why? Because often this distancing isn't a rejection, it's a test. A silent test to see if you are emotionally dependent. If your world revolves around her, if you are willing to deny yourself just to avoid losing her, this is where the average man and the strategic man diverge. The average man immediately reveals his anxiety, seeking external validation with questions like, "Are you okay?" He expends all his energy calling, insisting, pleading, becoming predictable, reactive, and weak. The Machiavellian man, however, feels the same anxiety, but does not act on it. He takes a step back without drama, preserving his routine, his mission, his objective. He becomes a glacial mirror, reflecting back to her the potential loss she is incurring. This man acts not out of fear, but out of strategy, for he understands that respect cannot be demanded, it must be inspired. If she observes that you remain steadfast, even when she creates distance, you generate a powerful emotional tension. The allure of self-control. Consider this. She expected you to react, to throw a fit, to show her that she is your entire world. By not yielding, you seize emotional control from her. You disorient her, intrigue her, because you break the pattern she has observed in all other men. To paraphrase Machiavelli, the best way to dominate someone is not by exerting force, but by making them doubt their own power. Here, it's not about ignoring her to punish her, nor playing with her emotions, but about possessing a core so solid that no feminine withdrawal can shake it. Because when a man manages to remain calm amidst emotional chaos, he not only earns respect, but also gains power, and this power is magnetic. It is often at this precise moment that many men wonder, if I do nothing, won't I lose her? The Machiavellian answer is brutal. If she leaves simply because you don't pursue her, then she was never truly yours. You were merely emotional entertainment for her ego. The intelligent man understands that true desire doesn't stem from constant presence, but from the felt absence. That discomfort, that vertigo of why isn't she texting me? Is she with someone else? Is she even still interested? This void, this uncertainty, is what rekindles her interest. And if she doesn't return, all the better. A self-respecting man prefers to lose a woman than to lose his own power. So, the next time she creates distance, remember this. Do not pursue, do not explain anything, do not debase yourself. Observe, smile, and return to your mission. Let her feel your absence, for intelligent men do not beg for love, they ignite desire. When a woman declares, "I need space," a part of you freezes, your heart races, and your mind shifts into survival mode. You replay every word, every message, every gesture, that might have led to this. But stop. If you react like 90% of men, you fall into her psychological trap, even if she didn't consciously plan it that way. No one has probably explained this to you. This phrase doesn't necessarily mean she no longer loves you, she prefers someone else, or that she wants to discuss everything to fix it. It's yet another silent test, a psychological game, often unconscious, to gauge your emotional core. Because when she says she needs space, she is primarily seeking to know, do I need him more than he needs himself? And if your answer, conscious or not, is yes, then she no longer sees you as a man, but as a child. The supreme irony is that the more loving, present, and understanding you are at this moment, the more you lose your power. The average man panics and tries to convince her with reason. He proposes changes, promises to do whatever she wants, becomes hyper-available, sends endless flowers and texts, and desperately tries to make amends. Do not fall for this. What she doesn't understand is that each of these gestures only pushes her further away. Because you are not responding to her emotional need for space, you are invading it even more. The intelligent man, the Machiavellian strategist, does not take this personally. He does not interpret her withdrawal as an attack, but as a sign he must read. He responds briefly, I respect that. Take all the time you need. Then he resumes his life without drama, without questions, without seeking closure. This serene, strong, detached response is incredibly powerful. Why? Because it conveys a message no woman can ignore. You will not break me. And this, as hard as it may seem, triggers a very deep instinct within her. When she realizes she doesn't have emotional control over you, she begins to reconsider her perception of you. She then sees you as a stable, autonomous man who doesn't crumble for love. Even if she doesn't express it, this evokes respect. And respect is the foundation of desire. As Machiavelli wrote, severity is sometimes more respected than misplaced compassion. Applied to love, holding firm in your space, your mission, and your dignity is more seductive than being a martyr of love who gives everything. Because deep down, that is perceived less as love and more as desperation. But there's another aspect. When you don't chase her, you offer her an emotional experience that no words can match. The void makes her measure the value of your presence. Many men ask themselves, if I pull away, won't I risk losing her forever? Here's another Machiavellian answer. You cannot lose someone who has already decided not to value you. But you can lose your self-respect if you continue to beg a woman. A woman who truly loves you, once she feels this void, begins to remember your qualities, wonders if she's losing you, and experiences the discomfort of not having you readily available. And it is then, if there's authentic interest, that she returns. If she doesn't return, be grateful. You understood early enough that you were not her priority. Thus, when you are told, I need space, the key is neither to talk, nor to question, nor to argue. The key is to let go. Letting go is not abandoning. It's saying, I don't need to control this, because I am enough for myself. A Machiavellian man never negotiates his emotional core, not because he is cold, but because he knows that anyone who betrays themselves for love loses both respect and desire. Now you know. The next time you hear those words, remember it's not the end, but a test. Strategic silence, serenity, and your ability to move forward without her will be your best response. There is a moment that many men dread, yet also desire, that instant of deep emotional connection with a woman where they let down their guard, revealing their wounds, doubts, and fears, believing it will bring them closer. And yes, for a brief moment, she seems closer than ever. She listens, touches you, says, I love your honesty. But a few days later, she starts to change. She becomes colder, more distant. And you wonder, was I wrong to show my vulnerability? The answer is, it depends. Showing vulnerability is not a mistake. The mistake is not knowing how to sustain that vulnerability without becoming dependent on her reaction. Because what many women truly evaluate is not whether you feel deeply or not, but whether you can feel deeply without collapsing, without becoming fragile, without that intimate moment transforming you into an emotionally unstable man who has constant validation needs. As Machiavelli would say, he who yields to pain loses his crown. And in love, that crown is your emotional core, your ability to be vulnerable without losing yourself. The average man rejoices in the connection and always wants more. He believes that this openness gives him the right to become emotionally dependent on her. He becomes more demanding, more insecure, hypersensitive to every small change. If she creates a little distance, he panics. Did I go too far? Did I say something inappropriate? This kind of behavior is what you desire because even if she appreciates your honesty, what she cannot stand is the ensuing emotional pressure, the burden, the imbalance, the weight of having to emotionally care for you. The intelligent man, the Machiavellian strategist, shows vulnerability with a purpose, not as a plea. He shares from a place of strength, not need. He doesn't seek her to save him, reassure him, or receive an emotional embrace in return. And if she reacts by pulling away, he doesn't panic. He withdraws with elegance. He returns to his mission. Why is this so powerful? Because it breaks the pattern of fragile men who reveal themselves, hoping she will stay as a reward. The strategic man opens up because he is already whole. And if she doesn't reciprocate, he doesn't impose anything. Showing your inner world should be an act of freedom, not emotional manipulation. You should tell her, this is who I am. Not accept me, but know this. And here's the key point. She won't respect you for your pain, but for your composure after revealing it. If you remain serene, focused, and firm, even after sharing something very personal, she understands that you are playing in a different league. Machiavelli didn't speak of romantic love, but he mastered the perception of power. In love, power doesn't reside in hiding what you feel, but in not letting what you feel control you. The woman who pulls away after you've opened your heart doesn't always do so because you were too intense. She does it because you couldn't sustain that moment without falling into need, because your vulnerability became a pressure. And here comes the hardest part to accept. If, after opening up, she creates distance, you don't have to fix everything, explain yourself, or prove you're not weak. You simply step away with dignity, observe the silence, and resume your pace. Because this proves to her that your value doesn't depend on her reaction, and this, paradoxically, can make her return. And if she doesn't return, you still win, because you don't need a woman incapable of supporting the depth of an emotionally mature man. Whether it's an argument, a disagreement, or a difference of opinion, regardless of the subject, jealousy, boundaries, communication, money, past, suddenly, everything shifts. The energy between you changes, and after this confrontation, she withdraws, becomes colder, responds only in monosyllables, or completely shuts down. And you, internally, alarm bells ring. I need to fix this before it gets worse. So you do what most men do. You send long messages, you apologize, even for things you don't feel. You promise to change, you ask what she needs, how she feels, if she still loves you. But each of these actions, however well-intentioned, makes you appear weak, not because you are kind, but because you deny the conflict instead of facing it with firmness and strategy. Machiavelli would say, "He who tries to please everyone loses everyone's respect." And that's exactly what happens when a man grovels after an argument. He proves to her that his peace depends on her approval, that he cannot hold his ground without emotionally collapsing, and that kills attraction. The average man apologizes excessively, even for feeling. He gives her complete emotional control. He fears that anger will lead to a breakup, becomes an emotional beggar, seeking a good closure. The problem is that this attitude teaches the woman to believe that she can always use silence or distance as punishment, that you will yield, ask for forgiveness, and do everything to prevent her from leaving. But the intelligent man acts differently. The intelligent man, the Machiavellian strategist, acknowledges the conflict without losing his composure. He takes responsibility only for what is his, does not self-flagellate. If she pulls away, he sends a single, clear, direct, and respectful message. Yes, you need space. I respect that. I remain serene. We'll talk when you're ready. Then absolute silence. This type of response is powerful because it conveys three messages: emotional self-mastery, healthy boundaries, and inner solidity. And all this in the midst of turmoil. It not only commands respect, but also rekindles attraction. Because nothing is rarer and more precious than a man who doesn't need to force forgiveness, by affection, or beg for peace. You want her to look at you with admiration again? Then do not waver. Do not disarm yourself emotionally every time something breaks, because true leaders are not won with sweet words. They are won by firm stances. And yes, it can hurt. Silence hurts, distance hurts, uncertainty hurts. But as Machiavelli said, pain is temporary. The loss of power can be permanent. If she values you, she will return. Otherwise, it's better she leaves. Because you cannot build a stable relationship with someone who needs to see you weak to feel strong. Conflict is inevitable. What defines a man is his behavior after the conflict. Do you act like an emotional child begging for attention, or a firm man who commands respect without raising your voice? The strategy is simple. One message, no drama. Return to your life. This isn't coldness, it's emotional intelligence combined with strategic elegance. And in a woman's mind, this imprints more deeply than any desperate apology. A woman pulls away and you lose control, you lose her respect. But if you remain firm, serene, and centered, you send a message that screams power without uttering a word. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He who does not master his emotions will be dominated by those of others. So, the next time she creates distance, don't react. Evolve. For more insights into the alchemy of relationships and mastering your emotional intelligence, subscribe to the Alchemistry channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your power lies not in what you say, but in what you don't need to prove.